spreading the message of care for our environment, care for our planet. And that's, I think, very much aligned to what I feel inside me, that we really need to go beyond what we're doing in our daily lives to create an impact around us. So, through whatever means I can, it's through my website, social media, using my sphere of influence. This is what I do day in and day out, which is basically, try to walk the talk and get people to walk the talk too.
And is there anything that you feel maybe haven't quite gotten in alignment? Like, is there anything that sticks with you?
Yes, I think in the process, I got carried away a bit because I find I'm spending less time with my family. So in a way, I need to slow down.
Okay. Pace yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Thank you. Well done.
And I think another person who's a very good example is Evelyn, who used to live in the city, but then she gave that up and went and started an organic farm here in Singapore. Evelyn, tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Well, just now, when Chris.
Yes,
When
Chris.
you're talking about the business model, right now I'm thinking of how that Richard Perkins, Thailand, who's conducting permaculture courses, and he's interested to conduct it here, but it's a 14-day course, and how to get Singaporeans, to take 14 days leave. So in that case, there's a business model, as you say, you don't follow the normal route kind of thing. In that case, I would have to give him back the question of how to conduct and influence people to a 14-day course. Or has he got to change the model and break it down into modules and make it interesting?
Okay, so you're saying that one of your challenges, one thing that's not sort of completely aligned, is that you want to get this guy doing the course on your farm.
Yeah, but
it's just not easy to get people to take 14 days to come and do it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking actually from my own experience and what they've done in Auckland, how I sort of learned about this was they broke it down into just a series of one Saturday a month. They broke it all down into modules. And, presumably this guy's in the region and could come back. I think that maybe it's the kind of thing that, you're just told a different module every Saturday for, a couple months.
But that's not practical for him.
Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe there's other people you can sub in so it's not just him doing it. I mean, that's the other thing. There's been a lot of different instructors involved in teaching these modules. So rather than just getting one person's perspective, you can get other people to, contribute as well, get different ideas on how it can fit together.
It's a bit difficult, isn't it, to get 14 people to conduct the course. And
It's been done. Just saying, pitching it back as an idea. 14 nights.
And there are some permaculture organizations in the U.S. that offer shorter courses combined with kind of web seminars. So you might look into that as
well, we had a 2-day permaculture course.
right, but this is the proper course where they get some of their education in using the web and then do the practical on a shorter time scale.
Or is it possible to design it that this fellow comes here for 14 days and target it at different modules, and target it at different people, with kind of slightly different interest?
Yeah. Well, I think there's many different opportunities, and I don't know. I'd be happy to talk to you, or maybe we could all have a conversation afterwards. But yeah, I think you brought up a really interesting point. How do you kind of spread these ideas with those challenges, in this environment in mind?
Yeah, people who are interested but hasn't got the time, and whose focus is only part of it, and then design it for 14 days, targeting at different
Right. Well, let's have a conversation about that. I think we can actually maybe do something. That would be great. Why don't we welcome Anthony to join us? You can stand up. You both stand and talk. Okay. Did you want to talk about some of the things that you've done and around the course and stuff that you've been set up before, and maybe talk about permaculture from your point of view with agriculture and food and things like that?
I think talk about what Evelyn mentioned, how we went around this problem of that we need to have a 14-day permaculture design course, which is what me, Mel, and her husband Daniel, we went to do it in outside KL. It was set up by this girl called Sabina Arokiam, and she sort of rented a plot of land to start up this school, to and then got all of us in to go there to stay there for 14 days on a beautiful property and to do the course. And that was a proper course. But, and I think it's important for you to do that, to be doing a lot of hands-on for permaculture. Otherwise, virtual, it doesn't really have that feel, You need to...
Well, tell them a bit more about what you actually practically did. What did you do? What did you accomplish? What did you learn when you're doing all the hands-on stuff? I mean, this is applied to agriculture, so it's totally different in many respects to the more theoretical stuff that I'm working on. What did you learn? How did you apply it?
But our teachers also talk about how to apply it within the community, not just farming food for the community, but how do we relate to each other socially, culturally. Yeah. So what you mentioned just now, we were taught a little bit about it. Yeah. So it wasn't just about growing food sustainably to feed each other. Yeah. It encompassed more than that. But it was fun. It was 14 days of theory mixed with hands-on on the land itself. We were doing a lot of, they were doing demos. We were going out there to the field to do the stuff. And we tried to do that in Singapore, but we realized that Singapore context is very difficult. No one can commit to 14 days. In fact, 14 days is all we have per year as an annual leave. Yeah. So we thought of, okay, never mind, let's just do a weekend, a full Saturday and a Sunday. Babani, Lo, Wong, a lot of the pupils are here, and we sort of did that. 14 days, a weekend on Evelyn's farm, and then 2 night talks, 2 evenings of talks, And we thought that should get the ball rolling to do permaculture as an option, as a career option. And I think it sort of worked because the people are still around, the students are still very keen to do permaculture in many different ways that they individually will want to do.
Don't forget, Andrew, it was oversubscribed too. You had to turn away quite a few people from the workshops.
Becky, one of my oldest friends, my best friend, Becky is my sister, soul sister.
Your sister?
And
I thought it's your sister.
No, soul sister.
Okay.
Betty is, to digress, Betty is setting up an eco community. So Betty, maybe later you can talk a bit about it. What you foresee, for your community, right? So anyway, to get back to this permaculture thing, we did it at Evelyn's farm, 1 weekend and 2 evenings at Kampung Senang. In where's Kampung Senang?
Aljunied area.
Aljunied, in the Aljunied office. Okay, and I think it was successful. Like you say, we had to turn away some people.
So what were some of the things that you did when you're on the land in this particular plot? Like what are some kind of skills that people got to learn? What went well?
Since it was only a weekend, we could only focus on how to work with the land sustainably, right? We did farming stuff because we didn't have time to do a lot of the other stuff that we did in the 14 days. Yeah.
Gardeners were not, the farming stuff, the banana circle, and I was stunned that in such a small piece of land, you can grow so much. And you can very cleverly grow a variety of plants, using what is available in the farm. Like you could use the mulch, you could use the aquatic plant as mulch. You can grow papayas and bananas, and you can have loka, everything grown together in a small space. And that really impressed me, that you can have urban gardens, and that really inspired me. And I started my own little herb garden, and it's doing extremely well. And I'm inspired, and I want to actually learn a lot from Andrew to become at least self-sustaining in food. I want to take it up as a challenge. Within my own home, can I grow at least 50% of my food? So
I learned a lot from that 3-day course.
3 days. But that 3 days,
I'm a full city girl, you know. I've learned a lot.
yeah, it sort of didn't emphasize on container food gardening. Yeah, it didn't really do that. It was still talking about having a piece of land to do it. You know, so in that sense, we didn't really do it to the urban kind of direction. Yeah, which we will reserve for the next course that we're going to conduct.
I took away a lot from it.
Sorry?
I still took away a lot from it.
Okay, yeah.
That's sort of interesting thing coming out of this is that perhaps there's a lot of knowledge and inspiration that will spin off into other things that you don't necessarily intend.
It was. I think that was what happened. Yeah, that was what happened. Not so much that everybody went off and got a piece of land and worked on it in the permaculture style. Apart from Mr. Bong there who did just that.
But you are inspired. I know when I grow old, I want to have a flower garden. I want to keep a cow. And I'm really inspired.
Sure.
So many other courses.
The course that we did, our teachers, American Hogdal and a French guy called Gautier, they're both only in their 20s and they are both full of enthusiasm and they have done several courses and they were invited to come down to do it in KL, and before they left for Europe, we told them to come down to Singapore to do it. So it's dependent on whether they're going to be coming back here. Yeah, or if we can find some other teachers. Yeah, because for the rest of us who were doing it, I think it's still, we don't have, we need years, a couple more years of experience of doing it. What we learned was basically theoretical and a bit of hands-on. Yeah. But there should be people available. We are trying to set up one next year. Yeah, the same thing, just a weekend, and then we get a call and you come. So if you want, just leave your name, we will contact you.
Yeah, okay, definitely. So, George, do you want to talk about sort of maybe some of your views and how they fit into this context of permaculture and growing and lifestyle and that?
Well, if we have people growing organic food, we need people eating organic food too. They need their customers. I mean, there will be people like Bhavani who just grow for herself and her family, but other people are growing more, like Evelyn. So they need customers, and a good way to get into organic food is to go vegetarian. And I'm from Vegetarian Society Singapore. We've got a lot of literature here. Just last weekend, people like Chris Jensen and Bhavani, we did this 350 day, which is about 350 parts per million. If you didn't get a copy, 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide equivalents in the atmosphere. If we want to stop global warming, we've got to get down to that because we're already up to like 390. So talking about aligning values and actions, I think everyone believes that we need to do something to stop global warming. And actually, going vegetarian is one of the best things we can do, because at least 18% of human-produced greenhouse gases come from meat production. There is a new report out claiming that it's 51%. There's Lord Stern, who did a big report on global warming from the UK. He just came out. Before, he didn't endorse vegetarianism. Now he says it's going to get to the point where eating meat is seen as just as bad as being a drunk driver. You know, that's socially irresponsible. And then another way that going vegetarian helps us align our actions and our values is that if you ask most people, do you think it's right to mistreat animals? Pretty much everyone would say no. But when we eat meat, we're subsidizing the mistreatment of animals, because the animals we eat from the day they're born are imprisoned, are cut off from anything like a natural life, and they're killed way before their normal life expectancy. So again, a very easy way, 3 times a day, to align our actions and our values is to at least try to eat less meat.
At this point, you've heard quite a gamut of different elements related to permaculture from a business point of view, from an agriculture point of view. Are you shy, Andrew? Or questions, feel free to fire away.
Yeah,
So
please.
some are related roughly. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything too specific to what we talked about. Go ahead.
Well, I'm supposed to retire from consulting business.
A little bit louder.
But I went to attend permaculture and get interested and start the ball rolling again. And recently, like you said, I'm so interested. Singapore is a little bit expensive. We went over to Malaysia, and recently we rent a piece of land. It's empty. So for us to start this permaculture again. We face problems like fellow partner here face the 5M problems. One, bacteria, manpower, management, what else? Machinery and money. Okay, we solve something on money, solve something, but the hardest thing is to find manpower. It's not easy to get manpower. So we are now struggling besides management and getting the knowledge to do it. Like Andrew says, we just attended. I attended only a 2 days course or 3 days course. Now I want to start a farm. Actually, I am not in the farm business. So, but we are making the sense to do it for the sake of the country. We are trying to do more. Cut down on it.
Anybody wants a job on this farm?
Yeah. You're welcome. I think you agree that if you're interested, you can come and come to us. It's actually we only took, because it is 5 acres land, but we only took because they offer us 1.25 acre land, but we found that a little bit tough because it's full of mud and swampy area. We cannot manage it, so we went for half acre of land to try it out and see how the thing goes. And we'll try to spend some money and work on it. If anyone interested, come to us. You're welcome.
What's the name of your farm?
The name is left to you to name it because we just started it. We just went in. We rent a piece of land. It is about 45 minutes from Singapore. It's before Fullerton Beach. If you know the place, we call it Lisa Chamara.
I'll get the details of it and I'll post it.
And anyway, we are going for a bigger project which I don't want to get involved because it will involve another group, which is 5 acres land. Okay. But we need experience to go and do things. We are trying to push, trying to knock our head against the stone and let's see what's happening.
Inspirational. Thanks for that. Is there anybody else who has questions or something else they're working on that kind of relates?
Okay, Lo, and then maybe Betty, you can share we're working about how to set this up.
Okay, I'm Mr. Loh here, and I'm a school teacher. So recently what I've been doing is I've been sharing with the people about the public about things about global warming. Because I lead a team in Eco-Friendly Association, we've been studying the issue of global warming for about 1.5 years. And after 1 year of research, we actually come out to the public and present it to companies, to schools and all this, and to interested parties. Recently we did one with Nature Society, and they like us very much. So what we do is if you have a place, you have a company, or you have a organization or interested parties, you can call us or email us, and we do presentations like 1 hour or 1.5 hours presentations at your site free of charge. We do it free of charge, and we give the materials to you. The regarding thing is global warming and our current situation, and what are the solutions that we can do for global warming. And the Vegetarian Society has got it right. A large part of it is we can go very much vegetarian, because even NATSA scientists like Dr. James Hansen, last year he has endorsed the vegetarian diet, because he says that at our current rate it's 385 now, reaching 390. If you want to get to the safe level, they're saying it's at 350. And if you look at 350, not only you have to look at oil practices, not only you have to look at electrical practices, you have to look at land use changes also. Because land use changes has created a lot of carbon dioxide into the air. Primarily because of the burning of rainforests and a lot of deforestation. That causes a lot of land use to change. And what happens is, to produce 1 kg of meat, you need 10 kg of vegetables. And to grow that vegetables, you got to cut forests. And that is why a lot of forest is cut to grow for grazing and also to grow food for the animals. Now, what happens is at the moment is about 75% of the world's soybean is fed to the world's animals. A lot of food is fed to the animals, and our people are still having to eat. So if you want to solve a lot of problems like water issue, now we are facing water shortage. Now we are facing food shortage. Now we are facing a lot of resources shortage. We have to look at how we use our land. And that is a very big issue because now even the United Nations is talking about food shortage is also linked to the meat diet. So a lot of things is actually linked to the meat diet. And it is the easiest thing for us to do because is in our hands. It's not in the hands of the government. We can make the individual choice. And if 6.6 billion people in the world make that choice, it's going to conserve a lot of resources in terms of water resources and food resources. It's going to help our planet tremendously, very, very much. So that is what I give lecture about. I think it's about, normally it's about 1 hour lecture. But if your company has less time and all this, you can make it 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on your company. Once you give us an email, we'll try to arrange, and if we have availability, we have manpower, we'll just go there and do the presentation. It's free of charge as a service to mankind and planet Earth.
When you say you offer solutions, is it just solutions at a personal level, or because you're going to businesses, do you also offer business solutions and how this is an opportunity for businesses?
Oh, not for businesses. Normally as a normal citizen, what a citizen in the world can do, and how does it help the whole world at large? Personal lifestyle changes, not as a business company, no. But of course, organic farming is also a very, very important way, because when I was doing research in all this, there was one thing that Rodale Institute from US, they state that if the whole world goes organic, it's going to absorb 40% of the CO2 currently in the environment. Because the organic system actually helps the soil to retain carbon, while the monoculture system actually kills the ability of the soil to retain carbon. If you go monoculture for about 2-3 years and all this, your CO2 absorbing ability of the soil decreases from a normal 30% down to only about 5%. So if you go organic worldwide, you can actually absorb 40% of the current CO2 in the environment. That is a very fast solution. And actually, if you go very much less meat, you free up a lot of land. Currently, the world's agricultural land, 70% of it is actually used by the animal industry. Only 30% of it is used to grow food for human consumption. So one of the solutions that is offered in the Copenhagen meeting in March is this year, because scientists have a meeting in March, and then they are going to have a meeting together with the politicians in December this year. But before that, in March, they already had a meeting. During that meeting, some of the scientists, they give out a solution. They're saying that currently 70% of the world's agricultural land is actually used to produce food for the animals. If you reduce the meat consumption of the world, let's say by half, you can free up half of that land. When you free up half of the land, let's say about 35% of that land, you can grow trees on 35% of that land. And that will help the forest situation. That will help to get the forest back. And now, the main reason for deforestation in Amazon is actually the cattle industry, and also to grow soybean, actually to be fed to the cows also. So if you want to stop deforestation, you have to look at getting very low on the livestock industry. So we have to reduce meat.
You brought up some really good points there, and that you're again, sort of thinking holistically. A lot of these scientists and a lot of people are now connecting those dots. You know,
yes,
it's not
it's
just
all
about
connecting.
climate change, it's about
yes.
food, it's about land use,
it's about
diet,
water and all
about
this. Yes.
population, you know,
yes,
certainly.
right. It's about also food shortages.
Yeah.
If we have enough, we actually have enough resources in the world to feed the world population 2 or 3 times over. But a lot of food is fed to the animals. Even now, the fishes in the sea is actually caught up. A lot of them is actually fed to the livestock. So it's a very big issue altogether. But if we are to recognize that facts and we make that changes, it's going to have a lot of effect on the environment and on the people itself.
Thanks for that. Really good stuff.
So if anybody is interested, you can contact Olivia, and then
Olivia will have it on the website shortly, and certainly, you know, go and have a chat afterwards. That's what Green Drinks is all about. There was a couple of questions or people I think have asked.
I just had a question about the permaculture and the farming. I was wondering if you or if you knew of anyone who sort of had plans to bring this stuff more urban, like to flats or the HDBs, because to be perfectly honest, I love the idea of growing my own food, but it always ends up further down my priority list because of all the other stuff I'm doing that it just, you know, I've tried growing stuff at home, it's died, but we've got some great, at the HDB I live in, we've got some great garden areas with heaps of space, and probably some of the families there might be quite interested in teaching their kids about growing vegetables. I know that was really great for me when I was growing up. And so I was just wondering if anyone was thinking of bringing this to sort of closer to us.
Right, at this moment, we are all doing it on an individual basis. We grow stuff, but there are restrictions in the HDB estate. Now, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment and I only have a common corridor to grow my stuff. And I also utilize part of the common area, the leaf landing area to grow my stuff. Yeah, it ranges from like baby tree saplings to wildflowers to herbs to vegetables to medicinal plants, everything. I grow everything there in a small little plot. But yeah, I'm quite worried about that. I was recently advised to clear up most of it because I did too much stacking up. In permaculture method, stacking, you try to stack as many things as possible on a multi-tier thing. And they got so nervous when they saw my stacking. Because I had a pot in a pot in a pot in a pot, so there were like 5 plants growing on one plant. And also the cleaners were worried about how were they going to like do their work around my pot. Yeah. So that is one challenge now.
So maybe
Yeah.
There are a couple of community centers that I know of in Singapore, and I'm sure that more of them will be receptive to doing this, who have actually got the community to plant on their site as a social kind of a networking platform. So that's something you could try and explore. There are some other people also that have an initiative going for which can help you do what Andrew is doing. At home. I mean, there are people in Singapore that do it. Andrew's one of them.
But I'm doing it on an unofficial basis. But you can actually talk to the town council or to the residents committee, and they can sort of award you a plot to take care of.
You can do it as
below your HDB block. But doing it in the block as in a high-rise style, that they are not so comfortable with. But we'll just doing it anyway. Sorry. Yeah, that is what they are most uncomfortable with.
Inside the house.
Yeah.
Inside the house.
They will monitor to make sure that your pots are not like 5 inches taller than the window sill and things like that. Yeah, even then I was told my kitchen window I had some stuff in it. Yeah, they told me to get rid of it.
I mean, some ACBs like they do have space on the roofs and things like that. I can't remember, someone spoke to me recently and said that basically like some people had done some guerrilla gardening on the
Yeah, guerrilla is illegal.
and apparently people were just going out there and they were just doing it and getting away with it. So like, but those things are like also, yes.
I don't know if it's impossible, but it struck me earlier today, it's just a thought. Porter Park, that
The hot pot,
yeah, they have plots that different garden centers and nurseries are responsible for. I was wondering if the national parks might allow permaculture.
They have a permaculture plot actually. A smaller plot there. Yeah, showcase it. Yeah. But I think it's only open to contractors and certain NGOs. It's not open to members of the public in a way.
We had a question on the couch over there.
Hi. We are a bunch of final year students from NTU actually. And we're very excited to be here today because we were invited by Andrew. And I have a lot of thoughts running in my head because this is the first time we are in such a networking area. And we are coming from a point that we are doing a pioneer project for a company that's actually interested in permaculture. And we are actually thinking of setting up a program that targets schools to educate them about permaculture because honestly from our own personal point of view, like 3 of us, for our whole lives we never knew about growing or farming, and we are only 21 years old. And I think it reflects very much on the younger generation in Singapore. The kids, they don't know where their food is grown. They believe that they are supplied with food every day, and what if one day Singapore stops importing food, right? So we only came to acknowledge this huge fact when we started on this project, and we realized that it's very important to actually to spread the message around. And that's why audience here. They're obviously not in the age of 20 and below. And yeah,
Welcome.
And we're thinking of
I'm not that old yet. Jesus.
we're actually thinking of approaching these ideas to kids, to let's say the target audience of primary school and secondary school kids. But we are not too sure on how to bring this to them because permaculture is a huge word. It's like a big word. We don't really know what it is. Farming is also, to us, it's different kind of farming. We realize there are different kinds of farming. There's the healthy way of farming and there's the not so healthy way of farming. Where people actually use harmful pesticides and fertilizers that are not good for the earth. So we're thinking of introducing this concept, but we are not too sure on how it will be received. So I was thinking of how would you give us advices on bring this idea to schools, and if there's any points from the tips from the floor, maybe we could.
So just to try and recap that question, because you're like me, you kind of get excited when you go. So you're trying to find a way to get a lot of this information that you've been discovering in some kind of a program that you can then take to schools and educate younger people about permaculture or organics and where the food comes from, all the issues. Right? Okay. Andrew and George, you kind of come from more educational backgrounds. Perhaps you jump off and I can add to it?
Well, schools already have their eco gardens. Most of them do anyway. The primary schools especially. So it wouldn't be an alien concept in a way about growing things. Yeah, some of them do have vegetable plots. Maybe they're not organic. So permaculture would be the other level for them to achieve. So I don't think they will be too put off by your proposal to them.
So it'd just be a question of finding out who's in charge of that particular school program okay, approaching them first and saying, hey, this is what we'd like to do, we'd like to come with this kind of information. So that's an idea. George, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the schools would like the idea. A lot of schools now do hydroponics and things like that. So I think this permaculture would be something very good.
Terrible.
All right. Just one thing. Then we'll jump to the next question. The thing that I would probably add to that is when you're approaching these schools, make it definitely about ways to help teachers, because I think teachers in any environment, certainly here in Singapore, are really overtaxed and they're always looking for new materials and they don't have a lot of time to sit down and plan. So I think if you go to them and say, hi, we actually have something that's very structured for you, these are the outcomes, find out what's important, maybe work with one particular teacher who's of like mind and say, we'd like to help you develop this, we'd like to sort of do the hard work for you. If you can develop a program that's easy for them to digest and put into their classrooms, I think you've pretty much won the battle. It's just how do you get it to tick their educational boxes or what they need to cover. That would be my suggestion. So just make it easy as possible for teachers. But certainly work with them, because I think you probably find they're pretty warmly received, like they were saying. So the young lady...
Wait, I want to jump in.
You want to jump in?
I want to jump in, alright? So, the thing is, right, a lot of the time, people, like, in order to get them interested, you have to show it to them as well. So you might want to, you can't go to every school and demonstrate permaculture, I guess. But you might want to pick, a few kind of do that and empower the students as well. So when they work on it, you can put their pictures, on certain parts of the plots and so then they feel it's their responsibility. What you could do as well is to organize like trips to places that actually do have these functions in place. And then so that's one field trip, right? And you can keep having them, then it'll be easier rather than actually going there and doing the work on the school like properly, get them to actually, organize school trips on their part. So that's one way.
The other thought I had, sorry, just to pass before we bounce over the next question. In the longer term, maybe what you're thinking of doing is starting an NGO that sort of plants these seeds, so to speak, and gets people trained up in certain schools and a program together. Again, a really tight program that they can replicate across the island. So I think that could be a really good idea.
But because we're actually setting up, as in the company we're working with, we actually has a call of land about probably every Saturday of the month about permaculture, about healthy organic growing as well. But the only things that we have in a problem are actually finding manpower, people who can really give the time to teach these children on permaculture. Because we can't do that, we are not trained ourselves, but we are just trying to, we see ourselves as finding people to actually come on board this project to help us in developing the program actually.
Tell you what, I was going to say, after come have a chat with me, because I think I might have more to go on with that. Do you have any final remarks on it?
Yeah, just another point, like Chris said about making it easy for the teachers, is you've got to find out what's in their curriculum. You know, what's in the P5 science curriculum. So if you can cover that as part of your program, that makes it easier for them.
Right. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm also from NTU, but I'm a graduate student. Andrew, you mentioned in passing that in KL you also learned about permaculture and how it relates to communities. How to translate permaculture to relating to communities.
Right.
I wonder if you can talk a bit more about that, because if we're talking about values and looking at religious communities is pretty much your values. And if you look at, say, the major religions in the world, they all talk about environment as being part of the way of life and the values. So the movement in Singapore is not that much, but you look at the US, the UK, and even in Indonesia, faith-based organizations for the role. So I'm wondering whether you have any comments on that.
Well, I mean, permaculture was started by David O'Brien and Bill Mollison to sort of work on a smaller scale. I think they first started it by doing on a smaller scale, like how does it work where you can sort of benefit one another in a community. But of late it has evolved to this bigger thing, like what Chris outlined just now. It covered businesses, it covered what else do they cover?
Communities and things like that.
Bigger communities are not just a small.
I can jump in because I sort of have, I think I sort of see what you're stabbing at. I have an example from New Zealand it's more on a cultural thing with Maori people in New Zealand. But effectively what they're trying to do on Subway Marais, which is a little bit like a Maori community, to sum it up neatly, they're trying to introduce from a cultural perspective the interest in growing food again on the Marais, the native diet that people would predominantly be eating. So it's sort of being done in an organic way using certain permaculture principles, but it's also kind of bringing that community emphasis back into the mix. And I think within that there's a certain spiritual element because of the native peoples and their beliefs. But it's trying to kind of tie all that together. And I think the particularly interesting element about that application is that they're really focusing on young people because there's a lot of social problems, especially with young Maoris across the country, and they're trying to find ways to connect them back with their culture, back with their food, back with their people, and they see this as one really great way of doing it. So,
same thing in Hawaii.
Yeah. So I think I've heard about something like too. So I think it's possible, but it all sort of has to take place in the context of wherever you're at. So you're saying maybe Muslim groups in some areas or Buddhist groups in other areas, Christians, what have you, and each one is going to have sort of their own spin and their own things that they're trying to accomplish with it, within their sort of spirituality or whatever, their emphasis. But it's going to kind of be very focused and specific to those areas.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the groups can also work at a parallel national and global efforts.
Right. Well, I don't know. I guess I would sort of look at it from a bottom-up sort of way that a whole bunch of small groups all doing the same thing would then eventually grow to this larger thing. But yeah, certainly it's possible. If you have somebody who's quite enlightened at that upper level and helps kind of go the other way around. I think it's possible, really. Hey.
Yes, I'm Betty Cool, Kingsley, and I've been associated with permaculture and biodynamic farming and gardening for about 20 years now. In Australia as well, in fact beginning in Australia. And actually, permaculture consulted by Bill Mollison, was a reaction to the modern way of farming with chemicals and monoculture, with single crops, and the destruction of biodiversity. So what they did was they saw the way the small farmers in Southeast Asia used to farm with everything mixed together, very biodiverse, with prawn, the little fish farm, the orchard, the little rice patch, everything going on in one. And that was the model for the start of permaculture. And from there, like as Chris says, it started to evolve into a whole system, again, based on the understanding of how nature farms. I mean, not the word farm, perhaps, but
How food is grown, how it happens.
yeah, not only just food. And this is why I feel now it's so important for us now, not just to grow food organically in a permaculture way, but to look at the land as a whole and create eco-communities where we realize the importance of natural forests, biodiverse forests, where we must revegetate. Because if we do not revegetate, you can create this organic farm, growing these, a variety of crops. But the health of those crops and that farm, it won't be there anymore. So that's why Andrew and I had this vision. Yeah. Of reforestation. Yes. Bring back the mangroves, bring back the forests and the animals. Because the wild cousins of a lot of our food plants today, all the insects, good and bad, we need all of it in this, what they call web of life. Now Chris is looking for another word for sustainable. It's web of life, of which man is also an animal and is part of this web of life. Everything, every single plant, every single insect has a role to play. We do not know what they, not sure what they are, but they all have. Do you know that in one single leaf, for instance, say the Ceylon spinach, they've been able to analyze that it's got 500 different compounds working in synergy with each other in just one leaf. And what do? We say, okay, we can extract the active ingredient in that leaf. Whether it's turmeric or whatever it is, then we can mix it up with some gelatin or whatever and send it to you as a pill. But that's not the way nature works. So we've got to go back to working with nature. Thank you.
Okay, I think we got time for one more question and then we'll probably wrap up there, right? Anybody else? Okay, one last comment?
What happened is that what I heard and I still have followed is to find people with knowledge and practical experience of permaculture to help to push off or cut trade the generation of people. Whether we have that pool around Singapore, akan datang. So I see, but when? So I think that is a problem. I think when she talk about it, all those things, but yeah, like me, I'm also going to the farm. I look around, who else can I go beside Andrew, eh? And he's overcommitted and all those things, how to handle it, how to work on it. There is enthusiasm there, but then we need technique.
Okay, you and I need to have a chat too. So, right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. It's been really great to have you. Hopefully you've learned something new. I'll be here for another 5 or so minutes if you have any other questions for me. Maybe the little panelists will stick around a little while longer too if you want one-on-one conversation. Otherwise, thanks for being a great mix. Anything else, Olivia? Announcements?
Yeah, well, thanks for coming and thanks for moderating. So, thanks so much as well to George. Yeah, and this weekend there's a, I know there's something happening at Hot Park. Diwali.